Some breaking news just in tonight as we are learning that the special counsel Jack Smith and his prosecutors are now asking a federal judge in Florida for a gag order on former President Donald Trump in the classified documents case. What they want is to limit his ability to comment about law enforcement that searched his Mar-a-Lago resort 2 years ago. The request is a first in this case, but here is the important context. It comes after the former president and many of his Republican allies have been repeatedly exaggerating and falsely criticizing the FBI for the use of deadly force policy that was in place during that search of his Mar-a-Lago resort for the classified documents after he did not turn them over in response to a subpoena. Now, we saw Attorney General Merrick Garland pushing back on this week and talking about how dangerous he believes it is because, of course, this is a standard operating procedure for the FBI when this search happens. They actually went into Mar-a-Lago with a much lighter presence than had been authorized by a search warrant that was authorized by a magistrate judge in the state of Florida. They did not have their guns drawn. They were not wearing FBI shirts and instead were in normal clothes. But that has not stopped the former president from repeatedly going on social media and targeting these law enforcement officers who were there. Of course, they have their names, given they have the documents. They've been redacted in the filings that we have seen. But this is a notable first in this case. We have our legal experts back here with us as this news is just breaking. And Judge, I mean, this isn't Trump's first time with a gag order. We'll see if it actually gets authorized. But it is remarkable that Jack Smith feels the need to ask for this because it's not just Trump. We've also seen Senator Ted Cruz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of these Republicans going after and saying, Trump's fundraising, saying that they had authorized for the FBI to assassinate him.
Right. I mean, I'm reading these documents here as you are. So I was a judge almost 13 years. Before that, I was NYPD for 30 years. So reading this not only as a judge, but as a proud former member of law enforcement, this is outrageous. I mean, just reading from the document. The next day, Trump publicly claimed he was just shown reports that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ and their illegal Constitution raid Mar-a-Lago, then in all caps, authorized the FBI to use deadly, lethal force. Trump also sent an email stated the government was authorized in all caps to shoot me. Now, I'm thinking this through, and I'm obviously drawing the parallel to what Judge Merchan has been dealing with in the New York trial to protect witnesses and the jury and everybody else involved in this process. Now, sooner or later, I would imagine in this case, FBI agents are going to be called to testify. People are going to know who they are. Now, this isn't just some crank, Trump. This is somebody who just put something on Truth Social. He brags about it. Millions of people see it simultaneously. And there are a subset of people in that group, potentially dangerous, that are going to take this and believe this. So I think Jack Smith, from what I'm seeing, is absolutely right. And I think that Judge Cannon should take it quite seriously. He's right to pursue this. And she should take it seriously. And I'm thinking in terms of a former law enforcement officer as much as I'm thinking in terms of a judge, as I look at this now.
Those law enforcement officers were just doing their jobs. Bernardo, stand by, because I want to get your thoughts on this as well. We also have joining us by phone Caitlin Polantz, who is a senior reporter for Crime and Justice here at CNN. And Caitlin, you know, you and I have been reporting on this case for months now. It is remarkable. We have not seen Jack Smith ask for something of this nature, and the fact that he feels compelled to do so now. You've been reading through the filing. What else stands out to you?
There's a couple of things, Caitlin, and you're right. We haven't seen this in this case. It's going to be a real test for the judge overseeing it, Judge Eileen Cannon, who has moved extremely slowly to respond to many of the things that have come into this case. We're going to have to see how she responds now. But the things that jump out at me from the filing are that the Justice Department is being so explicit about how dangerous this sort of language is. Attorney General Merrick Garland just yesterday said that as much. He said it was extremely dangerous and false what Trump was amplifying. And they are now saying in their filing in federal court to a judge, Trump's repeated mischaracterization as an attempt to kill him, his family, and Secret Service agents has endangered law enforcement officers involved in the investigation. On top of that, they say there is the possibility this could harm the jury. But Caitlin, another note here is that the prosecutors here talked to Trump's lawyers about this and told them they were going to go to Judge Cannon about his statements, including things he was putting on Truth Social. Today, the response from Donald Trump's lawyers, according to what the prosecutors say today, is that they wanted to wait till Monday to talk more about it. They didn't think that there was any imminent threat.
That's what Trump's attorney said, according to prosecutors in this filing?
That's right.
I mean, clearly Jack Smith feels differently. It's 9:21 Eastern time on a Friday night, and he feels the need that this is such an imminent threat that they needed to ask for this now.
Absolutely. It is one of the things that they are saying in a way with language that you rarely see in court filings about the possibility of harm. And we've seen these sorts of filings before. We have a gag order on Trump in the federal case in Washington, D.C. There is a gag order on Trump in the case in New York that he has violated 10 times, been held in contempt of court, fined for those violations, commenting about witnesses and jurors or the jury pool there. But this is something that is clearly has really set off a response within the FBI, the Justice Department, the special counsel's office to respond to Trump and say, no, this is not something that is apart from any search, including the search that had taken place at Joe Biden's Delaware home consensually, that there was always this sort of standard protocol in place for law enforcement because these searches can turn dangerous. This was nothing out of the normal for the search of Mar-a-Lago in August of 2022. And this sort of amplification of Trump saying there was lethal force, that they may have been authorized to shoot me, that it could have been deadly, that is so inflammatory. It endangers law enforcement writ large, and they want a response from the judge.
And just a reminder for our audience, I know you know this, Caitlin, but Trump was not at Mar-a-Lago when this happened. The FBI coordinated with Secret Service. Secret Service let the FBI onto the Mar-a-Lago property. If you drive down in Palm Beach, it is a long drive, and then you turn into Mar-a-Lago. There's a security gate right there at the front. They let them in to come and execute this lawful search warrant that had been authorized by a judge. Trump was in New Jersey, I believe. He was not even there as all of this was happening. And Renato, I'm reading through this, and they're talking about how, Trump cited the warrant and the operations form as exhibits for his motion, but they misquoted it by omitting the crucial word only before when necessary, without any ellipsis reflecting the omission, leaving out language that deadly force is necessary only when the officer has a reasonable belief that the subject of such force poses an imminent danger of death or serious physical injury. Basically, this is authorizing deadly force, but it was limiting what force they could use, saying only in the most insane of circumstances may you use this.
Understood, but keep two things in mind. Number one, this is totally different than the gag order in New York, which is designed to protect jurors and witnesses in an ongoing trial. This is a very different thing. But also, let me just remind everybody, you can agree or disagree with what Donald Trump has said and the way he is misquoted or not misquoted. There are certain First Amendment rights that we all have. You don't have to like what somebody says. You're allowed to lie under the First Amendment. You're allowed to misquote under the First Amendment. You're not allowed to incite violence. But I'm sure that's what his lawyers will be arguing, that he has a right to give his interpretation of what he thought was going on and that he shouldn't be bound by a gag order. And there's no, I understand that this is designed to protect law enforcement officers, but this is not a jury poison issue, in my view.
Yeah.
May I just add something?
Yeah.
Additional language. After was authorized to shoot me, just reading from the paperwork here, was just itching to do the unthinkable and was locked and loaded to take me out and put my family in danger. And then some of those officers on that raid, FBI agents, we may expect are going to be called as witnesses and identified. This is an attack. This type of thing, in my opinion, is a continued attack on the judicial process and the rule of law. And I can certainly understand why the Attorney General of the United States would authorize Jack Smith to do this. I think he would have been remiss if he didn't take this on directly. I have no idea. I'm not a federal judge. I never was a federal judge, how it will come out. But I'm certainly supportive of the Attorney General of the United States and Jack Smith backing their FBI agents in the field over this type of garbage.